What is good, Counter-Strike fans? Welcome to my 17th episode of my HLTV Fantasy. Today, we're going to talk about the playoffs for PGL Astana. And before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And yeah, we're coming up to the end of the season, but we're still, making the videos. I've only missed one event, and hopefully that is my last event that I missed. But yeah, let's talk about this event. But like we always do, let's take a look back at how we did during the group stage. And this is the team I went with. Double Aurora and Major and Jota. Double Astralis with Device and Jabi. And then Davideos from Pain. And it led us to one of my worst results of the year. 1 point, really disappointing about that. The only player that I was happy with is Device. He did really well. Astralis also did pretty well as well in general, but I didn't choose the right pair up. Jabi was, I think, the worst rated Astralis player. Even Hooksy was higher rated than Jabi, so I could have saved some money, pick Hooksy, and maybe get someone else from these other teams. Aurora disappointed me, went 3-2 in the group stage. Look at these points. They couldn't even farm, big. They lost the first big matchup, and then it just was like a snowball effect going down into the 2-2 game and having to beat Audic, which is going to be obviously an easy win for them. And then Pain. Davideos even got more points than Jota and Major, but he didn't even qualify for the playoffs, so disappointed there as well. In general, just disappointed. But, it is what it is. We move on. If we take a look at the most value for money players, Donk is there. He was always going to be there. Alongside Shiro as well. Shoes, surprisingly, as well. But, you can complain because NIP did really well. Sensu, Tegno from Mongols. Alexi B from Navi. Staub. I really wanted Staub in my team for the Astralis double up, and he was one of the best value. And then Malbs, where G2 didn't even qualify. I think the best lineup for this event was like a single Donk, so Donk, and then two NIP players, which is Shush and maybe one of the Portuguese guys, or even I think it was Shush. I'm not sure. Not Shush. It was Shush, and then one of the two Portuguese guys, or it was Snappy. And then it was the two Fury. I think it was one of this like Jakindar and Fallen or something like that. So that was the best lineup. If you took a chance on some of the lower ranked teams, you got pay for it. And then if you picked Donk, then you did quite well in this event. That result basically means we're out of the contention for any prizes. But, I think I just want to finish as high as possible. Hopefully, I get better performances from now on. And hopefully, maybe my goal would be at least top 250. If I get top 100, I'd be pretty happy about that as well. But yeah, enough about that. We can talk about the bracket for this playoffs. So, on the upper side of the bracket, we have Mongols versus Aurora. And Nabi versus Astralis. The winner of those games will face one another in the semifinals. In the lower bracket, we have Furia versus MIBR and Spirit versus NIP. Winner of those matches will also face one another in the lower bracket semifinals. And we can talk about this bracket just really quickly. Spirit should be the clear favorites. They're going to go and win the whole thing, in my opinion. There's just no one here that even stands a chance. Even like a Navi at their best probably doesn't touch a Spirit in their current form, and they have to win. NIP versus Spirit should be an easy blowout for Spirit, and if they don't win, they probably lead to a negative feeling for them going into the major. So Spirit should win versus NIP easily. And then Furia versus MIBR. Furia, I think, should also win easily. I've been really impressed. I thought, the move of getting Molodoi and Jakindar and going international and speaking English might have hurt him, but in reality, it made him even better. I mean, Fallen is, I think, might be better with the rifler. So that's been interesting to watch. Jakindar is back to showing a little bit more of his BP self rather than the one that lost all his confidence while playing with Liquid as IGL and then afterwards under Twist or under Cadian. One of those two, I think. I think it was Cadian and then Twist. I don't know if he actually played under Twist guidance, but yeah. So Furia should also win that pretty easily 2-0, which will set up a semifinals matchup of Furia and Spirit. In the upper bracket, Mongols versus Aurora. Mongols has dominated this matchup. I think the last 3 times they play each other, I think Mongols has won all 3, or Mongols has won 2 out of 3. I'm not sure, but Mongols basically dominated Aurora for a little while now. And looking at it, I wasn't impressed with Aurora at all in this group stage. And Mongols, well, they weren't that great either. At least, they went 3-0. And at least, they beat someone like Navi along the way. Meanwhile, Aurora didn't really beat anyone of note, I believe. Yeah, like they only beat NIP. Like, is that someone of note? I don't know. So Mongols should win that. Probably in a 2-1 fashion. And then Navi versus Astralis. I think this one's actually a little bit closer than the Puki 7. I think the Puki 7 have a clear Navi victory. But Astralis have shown a little something. And, Navi, well, they haven't looked at their best. They're still Navi. I'm still going to lean towards Navi 2-1. But Astralis, they could make the upset. I'm just saying. So that will lead our semifinals matchups of Mongols versus Navi, Furia versus Spirit. And then for this event, we also have a third place decider match, which actually does count for the fantasy. So I think, even if your team does not make the grand final, if you aim to at least have some teams in the third place decider match, you could actually do quite well in this event. As for the semifinals matches that we mentioned, Mongols versus Navi, I seen the trend. I think Mongols versus Navi have faced each other 4 times this year. The matchups results from oldest to latest, with the latest being the one played at this event. It's been Navi win, Mongols then won, Navi then got their revenge, and then recently Mongols won here at PGL Astana group stage. So if we take that into consideration and switching back and forth, then Navi should win here. And I actually do believe so as well. I think Navi, I feel a lot more comfortable on stage, so I'm going to have Navi beating Mongols here. Spirit versus Furia. Well, I do like what I saw from Furia. And, they have that Molodoi home crowd advantage. Spirit should win that easily as well. Which then would lead us to a grand final of Navi versus Spirit. And I believe Spirit will win that as well. Probably in 4 or less maps. But we still have a third place decider match. Furia versus Mongols. Like, what team really needs it more? I'm honestly going to go with Furia just because they have Molodoi and they have looked quite good, actually. I mean, I know that Furia lost to Mongols, but it was a close matchup. They went to 3 maps. And the final map wasn't too much of a blow for Furia. So I think, this could be a way for Furia to, get that confidence on stage and hopefully make a run in the major. But now we can take a look at the most picked players. And we can see that Chopper is currently the most picked player with about being exactly about 50%, almost just a little bit higher, 50%, but 50% basically. Donk and Shiro also showing up for Spirit. Then we have a couple cheapies, so Techno from Mongols, Hooksy from Astralis, and Alexi P from Navi up there. And then we have the Furia players, Jakinder and Moladoy. So their European players are also up here, which they perform quite well in the group stage. So a lot of different ways to go for this fantasy. Now we can take a look at the players individually, and we're gonna start off with Spirit. And look where we're at. I think this is the highest price I've seen on a fantasy player. Donk at 250. It's insane. And you know what? He's still worth it. He's still worth it at that price. Now, is he as worth as he was in 240? No, but he's definitely going to be one of the best value for money players in the end. Anyway, so picking a Donk draft is actually quite viable. However, no one other than Shiro is worth their price tag. So Shiro as well at 230. That 20k difference, you really have to really think about where you can put that money and where you can improve. They're both gonna do well. They're both gonna be two of the top. They're probably gonna be the top two value players of the game. So pick your poison and really think about what you think is going to happen and what team you can build around them specifically. Meanwhile, Chopper at 198 is a no-go. I mean, even with Donks like going crazy, like he's not helping Chopper at all. Chopper's just been putting up 0.8 performances, so Chopper at 198 is not worth it. And neither is Magic's at 213. I would listen to a little bit of Santic because I feel like he can at least, lurk his way into one kill while Donk and Shiro clear the site or clutch up a round. So Santic is not bad at 218. That's a little differential, but in general, you're probably only gonna be able to go with one Spirit player here, and it probably will lead to the most optimal lineup with just one Spirit player. So Shiro or Donk, take your poison. For Navi, the pricing again, it's a little high. I think the strategy for this event is going to be building around your gold player from Spirit properly and hoping that you don't have too many of your players facing Spirit along the way. So with having Navi to go into the final and not really having the easiest way there, I don't know how many points they'll be able to farm, especially having to play Spirit in a BO5. It's going to be tough for them. Alexi actually was fragging out this event, so 197 is not the worst, but it's not my favorite. I think Bit is a little too much. I think JL as well. If you want to pick two Navi players and you believe in them winning this event or even putting up good performances, it has to be Im and Wonderful. I still back Im just because he's the cheapest, but Wonderheart has looked a little bit better this event. So for Navi, it's Alexi, Im, and Wonderful as your choices. Aurora, very disappointing. I think players like Major is fine at 184. It's actually pretty solid, actually, I would say. And Centaurus as well, 219. He's coming back to form now. If you believe in Aurora and them, making it to the finals, Centaurus could be okay. And I think he also will perform quite well against someone like Spirit, especially because someone like Donkey kind of matches his aggressiveness quite well. I would then say Woxer with Katie and Jota are kind of in the same area where it's like they each have their pros and cons. With Katie, you have the consistency, but he is a little bit more expensive. And do you rather pay 4k extra just to go for someone with like Centaurus? For Woxic, it's that inconsistency, but he's a mid price that you can afford him not having the greatest ratings. And then Jota was one of his worst events in a recent while, so we'll see what occurs. For Mongols, I think they have a little bit more value. Techno 189 is not the worst either. He's coming up a little bit better. Misinho 204 also wasn't the greatest start to event, but we know that he has that pop up performance in him more recently. I think 910, Sensu, and Blitz are options as well. However, I would be less willing to spend that much, especially when you want to build a Shiro or a Donk draft in this event. Astralis, I think all five of their options. If you believe they need beat Navi, then they will be one of the best value for money players. If they don't beat Navi, then you kind of wasted your money and you're probably not gonna perform too well. But I mean, all five of them are great value. I think definitely go with Device if you are able to expend that much. But even going like Hooksy and Javi is not the worst. Even Javi and Stairs as well. Like, and even Stam as well. Like Stam was the best performer in this event for Astralis. It's just they're so cheap and they have that potential if they beat Navi to even make it all the way to the grand finals. So for Astralis, they're all great, amazing value. I would say the best is probably Device, Stam, and then Hooksy just gets so cheap, or even Javi if you believe in him bouncing back. I think he should. MIBR is a no-go. I don't trust them. Wasn't too excited by them. They're facing Furia, and I like Furia a little bit more. If you want to go here, I guess like Safe would be my favorite, but then he's 181, and then you just kind of want to spend as little as possible here. Furia is the other interesting one that I like. For sure, all five players are in play. I mean, Casara 206, he's been performing really amazing. He's putting up like 1.1 plus ratings. Again, you kind of want to spend as little as possible to build around Donk and Shiro. So Fallen, Jakindar, and Molodoi are definitely options. And then Juri is probably a great differential. Ninja and Pentajamas, definitely no. Unless you want to chicken one of them out. But if you do, then might as well go for someone like MIBR, who at least have a better chance of beating Furia than NIP does beating Spirit. And talking about that, here is my current lineup for this event. And I'm going to be backing Mongols and Furia to hopefully have a good event, and for Techno, Messinho, Molodoi, and Jakindar to get enough ratings, whether in the grand final against Spirit or in that third place decider. And yeah, Shiro as well, hopefully to farm and get as close as possible to Donk, but I just don't see how Donk's not gonna put up a 1.5 plus rating in this playoffs until the finals, where he can just put up a 1.4 easily. And yeah, that's my team. Some other options I've taken a look at. That's the Shiro draft I would go with. For the Donk draft, I think you definitely need to go with Astralis. And I think Furia is kind of I would say a must-have, because then you can chicken them out against at least one of them against Spirit, and hopefully the other one doesn't perform that bad. And then you got third place decider match, which I should think they should be quite motivated to try to win. And yeah, you can go someone like Molodoi, Jakindar, and then instead of Hooksy, actually, how did I do this? So you get Donk, you get Jakindar, Jury, Hooksy. No. How did I do this? I know you didn't have Jury. I know we have Molodoi. I think we have Stab. Is there? No. Fallen. Okay, there you go. This was the team that I liked. For my Donk draft, it'd be Donk, Jakindar, Fallen, Javi, and Stare. And again, that's also solid. Honestly, I'm gonna be switching between my Donk and my Shiro draft. I'll probably leave a comment down below, and you can also check out the link as well for my most up-to-date draft. But it's definitely gonna be a Donk or a Shiro draft with two Fury as well, and either two Astralis or two Mongols. I don't see me going Navi. I could see myself going for Aurora just because you can go Major and someone like Jota quite easily as well, and that'd be really cheap as well. If I think they could beat Mongols, but I don't know. I just don't have confidence in Aurora right now. But yeah, this is my current team at this time. Let me know in the comments down below what your team is, what you think of my team, and if you have any questions, leave them down there as well. But yeah, hopefully we have a better bet this time around, and we'll probably see Spirit winning this, and then hopefully we can go on into the IME Dallas. So yeah, good luck, have fun, and see you for the next times. Peace.